Hi, this is a quick overview of Hackend and what it is. As you guys might know, right now the term serverless is really hot. Serverless just means that you only pay for what you run, and AWS supports this through using services such as Lambda, and we can build an entire backend using just Lambda, creating a function here, and then using AWS's API gateway along with some type of storage like DynamoDB or S3. So we can build an entire backend, and we only pay for what we use. Um, and so Hackend kind of bases off that idea, but we want to make configuring all three of these resources with just one click. So with Hackend, you just create a table name. So you start with your resource. So let's say we want to create a table called users, and the primary key for this table is username. The type of the key, it's a string, right? Because username, or it could be an ID or a number, but string in this case. And then all we can do after that is, after we create a table, we can actually export that to AWS. And so what this will do is that this is going to set up a Lambda function for us and deploy a route where we can access the users table that we created. And to do this, all you have to do is you just have to go to your AWS account. Um, and so this is a separate AWS account that I'm using for this example. But you go to IAM, and then you create a user. You hit add user, and you give it a username. So our username, let's call it the Hackend export, and give it programmatic access. So this lets Hackend go into your AWS account and actually deploy resources. You want to attach existing policies directly, and create a policy. And the policy basically lets this user or role that we just created to assume a set of permissions. And so in our case, we wanted to be able to create Lambda functions and also access API gateway. So we can actually use something like a Hackend role, or sorry, excuse me, Hackend policy, policy that lets Hackend access AWS account to make resources. And we can actually get the template for this from the Hackend website, and here it is. And we can create the policy. Um, our user that we were creating earlier, AWS is a little broken, so we actually have to remake it. Programmatic access, attach existing policies, and then now we can actually search for that policy we just made. So Hackend policy. Got it? And then you hit review, and then you create the user. And so this will actually give us an access key and a secret. And so after we do this, what we can actually do is we can go ahead and we can use our Hackend pipeline to actually create these tables and deploy an API for us. So we'll first add in our access key and our secret. And the Lambda role ARN here is the function that whenever Hackend deploys Lambda functions, it's the Lambda role that will be made. And so you need a certain set of permissions. For example, your Lambda function needs to be able to access DynamoDB. So if you've ever worked with Lambda functions, this should be pretty good. But in our case, we're using a Lambda role that has an AWS Lambda full access policy on it. And we just post the ARN right there. And we enter a project name. So let's say my project, it's users, right? Let's make this a social network project. Um, let's call it my, let's call it social network project. And let's also give it, instead of users, let's also add a profile pic blob storage, so that way people can upload pictures and we can use this part for that. Profile pic. And then all you have to do is hit deploy. And then what this will do is this is going to go to your AWS account, return a URL to that backend, and we can access it and hit those methods. So success, your API can be invoked from this URL. If we go to our AWS account and we go to API Gateway, we can see our social network API that was just created for this project. And within there, there is a users and a profile. So this is the route for all the pictures, and this is the route for the user information. And then if you go out to Lambda, you can see the function that actually handles the profile function and the users. And if you go back even more and you go to DynamoDB, we can actually see the table that was made. And we can actually test this API out by going to items, and we can create a sample item for us. And let's give this a sample username. So let's say that that's my username. Or I'll use a simpler one, Johnny5. And my name is John. And let's add one more attribute. This is just a DynamoDB thing. Let's say my age is 10. Or no, let's say it's 20. So this is the information. And now let's just make a GET request to this URL that we had, /users, and then we pass it in like the user ID. So the primary key that we had, so username is a primary key, so username equals, and then whatever we had earlier. So username equals, and then I'm looking up this value, Johnny5. Johnny5. And there we go. That's the item that we put into our DynamoDB, and you can use the get, the post, and the put requests to make all of this work for you. Awesome. So that's Hackend. Enjoy.